Good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindi editorial analysis for proficiency in English. Now today's editorial, how does it start? Artless and heartless. Artless without showing any expertise or skill, and heartless not responding to the concerns of the public and the experts. The main idea of the editorial, the government must respond to concerns about demolitions in Central Vista redevelopment. As I said, it's all about the response of the government. The government hasn't been responding, and regarding what? About the concerns related to Central Vista redevelopment. Now, today you are going to learn about 14 important words. First one, demolition. I am presenting some of them: obsession, grandeur, irony, colossus, ruins, raising, treasures. And today's session is, to some extent, it is different. How is it different? For the first time in the recent past, I have brought a few exercises from international magazines. Today I have brought two exercises from international magazines, and they will help in the long run. The standards are very high when it comes to the language, and today you are going to work on 4 or 5 exercises, not regular 2 or 3, more than. Slowly I'm going to increase the number of exercises. Now let us go to the editorial. What is this editorial about? And today the presentation also, it is going to be different. I'm going to start with a question. What is this editorial about? It is about the highly questionable Central Vista redevelopment project and the cavalier attitude of the government. Cavalier, that means not showing concern for others' feelings. So this editorial is all about questionable Central Vista redevelopment at this juncture and the cavalier attitude of the government. Now, what is the broad framework of this editorial? It starts with the opinion, government must respond, then it labels this particular project as highly questionable, regular times as well, present scenario. Then it provides a background information, what it is, the project. It says it is a need, but it says, contrasting information, the timing is not correct. Then he talks about the irony. Irony means a paradoxical situation. People are suffering a lot, so this is not the right time to do something like this. It also talks about the misplaced determination of the government to complete the project right now without considering the feelings of experts and the public. Spotlight. Now, a few experts, artists, these people, they have put a spotlight on 3 institutions, and they deal with the artifacts, archives, all these things. And it is a difficult task to shift all these things, and it should be done with wide consultations when it comes to shifting, consultations with the artists, with the experts, and also the public figures. And if they don't do that, a lot of risks are involved. Finally, the editorial says the government is doing this in a hurry, and it takes a particular stand saying that the government has to suspend this project right now. It is not a good thing and it cannot be justified. This is a broad framework. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? Artless and heartless. 2 key words. Artless, no expertise, no art, no skill. Heartless, not responding to others' feelings. What is the main idea of the editorial? The government must respond to concerns about demolitions in Central Vista redevelopment. Must respond. There is one important helping verb, must. It has got 2 functions. One, it is used to express personal obligations or an obligation imposed by the speaker. The second function of the word must, the helping verb must, it is used to convey the idea that something is compulsory. The government must respond to concerns about demolitions. Demolition usually goes with a building, a structure. Pull down a building, destroy a building. In Central Vista redevelopment. Now it provides the background information, but before that, it labels the project. How does it label? It gives a negative tag. The government opinion Central Vista redevelopment project is highly questionable as a national priority at any time, and more so in the midst of a pandemic. At any given time, the stand taken by the editorial, this particular project is highly questionable. And especially right now in the present scenario, what is the present scenario? We are in the midst of a pandemic. So it is highly questionable. This particular sentence puts a label or a tag on the project. Now, the editorial provides a background information. The project includes the construction of a new parliament building and new residences for the Prime Minister and the Vice President. Now the editorial says it is required, but the timing is not correct. Two sentences, one talks about the need, the other talks about this is not the right time. A new parliament building is indeed required, emphasizing indeed required, and there is a strong case for reorganizing the existing offices of the central government. There is a need and there is a strong case. However, contrasting word, however, the architecture and timelines of the redevelopment as it is happening now are less about the need and more about an imperious obsession with grandeur. Less about, more about, parallel expression. And it says these two sentences. On the one hand, it says, one sentence says it is the need and it is a strong case for constructing. On the other hand, it says the architecture and the timelines of the redevelopment as it is happening now are less about the need. They are not about the need, more about an imperial related to the kingdom or colonizing and related to colonizing especially. Imperious obsession with grandeur. There are two words over here, obsession. Obsession means preoccupied with a particular idea or a lot of ideas related to a particular thing, preoccupied, constantly thinking of a particular aspect or a particular idea or a particular work. Obsession. Obsession towards work is positive, but sometimes what happens, you cannot control your thoughts. You're forced to think of something which is not a positive thing. Then it is, there's a label, it's like a disorder. What is it? OCD. The three letters OCD. They stand for obsessive compulsory disorder. And according to one survey, 1 out of 4 in the world, every person, out of 4 people, one person has OCD. But it is within the limit. Beyond the limit, one has to see a doctor. With grandeur, another important word, obsession could be positive, obsession could be negative. And OCD is always negative. Do remember that. Another word, grandeur, means splendor, impressiveness. Something looks highly impressive and it looks splendid. It shows a lot of splendor. We use the word grandeur, large in scale. The irony is that a colossus built amid the ruins of a pandemic could turn out to be a monument to the government's disregard for public good. This talks about it is not a good thing to construct or work on the redevelopment at this stage. If at all they do that, it will turn out to be, it becomes a monument to the government's disregard for public good. Government's disregard for public good. Right now, they have to focus on something that is good for the public. Instead of that, they work on this particular project. Eventually, it becomes a monument, and that monument will be a symbol of government's disregard for public good. There are 2 or 3 words over here you have to learn. The irony. Irony means two contrasting things exist at the same time. Paradoxical situation. Positive and negative. They coexist. Then we use the word irony. Sorry state of affairs. Another way to express the word irony. And the paradoxical situation. What is the other word? Colossus. Colossus means huge in size, enormous in size, and something very big. Built amid the ruins. Ruin means to destroy or to spoil as a verb. But as a noun, ruins, it has got 2 different meanings. One meaning, ruins means the remains of a historical building, the remains of a particular historical building or a monument. But here ruins means the damages caused by the pandemic. The irony is that a colossus built amid the ruins of a pandemic could become a monument to the government's disregard for public good. The misplaced determination, here it talks about the misplaced determination of the center to complete the project before the next Lok Sabha election in 2024. What is it? Determination, but misplaced determination is nothing but is characteristic of the showmanship that has befallen governance in India, but there is no justifiable urgency in raising to the ground a row of buildings and then rebuilding. This sentence talks about this particular stand taken by the government. It shows that it is nothing but misplaced determination, one thing, and it is a characteristic of the showmanship that has befallen governance in India, that goes with governance in India, but there is no justifiable urgency in raising. It cannot be justified to do something like this immediately in a hurry. It's something like they are trying to act as if it is something like urgent, and it cannot be justified. No justifiable urgency in raising to the ground a row of buildings and then rebuilding. Raising in this context it means destroying, and again destroying what? Buildings. Now the editor talks about the response of the public, the response of the or the feelings or the stand taken by the experts and the public. Last week, 76 scholars, artists, writers, curators, and museum professionals put the spotlight on a particularly concerning aspect of the project. This project deals with a lot of aspects, environment and other things. But last week what happened? A lot of scholars, artists, writers, curators and museum professionals put the spotlight on, the focus on a particularly concerning aspect of the project. Now the editorial talks about that particular concerning aspect, disturbing aspect. What is a disturbing aspect related to this particular project? The National Museum of India, the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, and the National Archives Annex are set to be demolished to make way for new buildings. Three institutions or the buildings that belong to three organizations, they are set to be demolished to make way for new buildings. This is an important phrase. Make way for new buildings. Provide the way for new buildings. And what are the three institutes? One is the National Museum of India, the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, the second one, IGNCA, and the National Archives Annex. Annex means the building that is adjacent to the main building are said to be demolished, destroyed to make way for new buildings. Now experts, excuse me, now experts, what is their stand regarding this? These experts have called for an immediate suspension of the project and wide public consultations on the path ahead. They said the project has to be suspended immediately. These experts have called for an immediate suspension of the project and wide public consultations on the path ahead. They wanted consultations to be taken up and have called for, important from present perfect tense, important from grammar point of view. There are valid concerns about the conservation of the collections housed at these centers. All the three centers, they house collections. They are like treasures. They are valid concerns. Valid concerns means their concerns can be justified about the conservation of the collections housed at these centers. Relocation of the treasures at the National Museum, archival records at the National Archives, and manuscript holdings at the IGNCA can be an extremely challenging task even during ordinary times. This sentence talks about relocation of the treasures. Treasures means valuable things. And it is not an easy thing. It can be an extremely challenging task even during ordinary times. Now, this is a pandemic time. Ordinary times also, it is an extremely challenging task. Relocation of the treasures at the National Museum, one thing. Archival records at the National Archives, second thing. And manuscript holdings at the IGNCA can be an extremely challenging task even during ordinary times. Not an easy task, an uphill task. And treasures, valuable things. Archival, related to archives. The word archives has got two different meanings. One meaning, record of events but not based on the time concept. Based on the time concept, we use the word chronicles or annals. Not based on the time concept, we use archives. That is one meaning. What is the other meaning of the word archives? A public place where the government records are kept for reference. And manuscript. Manuscript means if you write a particular book using your hands, by hand, that is called manuscript. Not printing. By hand something is written. It is called a manuscript. It is a complex operation. Why is it extremely challenging task? The editorial justifies. It is a complex operation that requires detailed planning and expertise. It's a very complex operation and it requires what? Detailed planning and expertise. Expertise is required beyond any doubt. Such changes around premier institutions take place only after wide consultations. Usually, around the world, how is it done? Such changes around premier institutions take place only after wide consultations in any part of the world. That's an important phrase. Any part of the world, this part of the world, and certainly not in the opaque and cavalier manner as is being planned here. Certainly not emphatic in the opaque. Opaque is opposite of transparent. Everything is being hidden. And cavalier manner means not considering others' feelings. Not considering others' suffering, we use the word callous or stony. Others' feelings, cavalier manner, cavalier attitude. These are important words. As is being planned here, artifacts, a tool or a thing or an object made by a person and that has got historical significance, we use the word artifact. Artifacts at the National Museum still lack a complete inventory. Inventory means complete list of things, whatever you have. The experts have pointed out, the sentence is in present perfect, flagging the risk of loss or mishandling, highlighting the risk of loss or mishandling. The Central Visa Redevelopment Project is clearly being implemented in a hurry. Now, a personal opinion, the writer's opinion. The writer says it is being implemented. Is being implemented. This is in present continuous passive voice. The Central Visa Redevelopment Project is clearly being implemented in a hurry. The government's intolerance towards any public scrutiny of the project is such that even photography of the construction is now banned. Government's intolerance, tolerate to bear. What is opposite word? Intolerance towards any public scrutiny. Already I've got the word scrutiny. Observe carefully, examine carefully. Of the project is such that even photography of the construction is now banned. How does the editorial end? The country is facing an unprecedented, never seen before, health crisis, the ripple effects of which are being felt in the economic, social, and political spheres too. Spheres means areas. The country is facing an unprecedented health crisis. Present continuous. The ripple effects. Ripple means if you take a water body, you throw a stone. Then you see small waves, series of waves. We use the word ripples. But here it means continuous impacts or continuous effects of which are being felt again in present continuous passive voice in the economic, social and political spheres too. Now how does it end? The final sentence, it talks about the stand. The government will lose nothing if it were to suspend the project. If the government suspends the project, it doesn't lose anything and take the opposition and the public into confidence on the future course in calmer times. So it says the government, if it suspends the project, it doesn't lose anything and it has to take the opposition and the public into confidence on the future course in calmer times. An interesting editorial. Now let us go to the enrichment part. Vocabulary related. Demolition, act of destroying a building. Usually demolition goes with buildings. Obsession could be positive, could be negative. Something or someone you think about whom or about something you think all the time. Preoccupied with something. Something or someone you think about. Grandeur, splendor and impressiveness. Irony, paradoxical. Colossus, a thing of immense size, huge in size. Ruins, remains of a building. A ruin means to spoil or destroy, and ruins could also mean the negative impact or the negative effects of something. In this context, the pandemic. Razing, razing also means demolishing. Treasures, valuable things. Archival, relating to archives. Archives, government records kept in public for reference. Manuscripts, handwritten books. Cavalier, an important word, not considering others' feelings. Artifacts, an ornament, tool or other object made by a person and that has got some sort of historical significance. Inventory, complete list of items you have at home or in the office. Usually it goes with office. A ripple, a small series of waves. Now coming to comprehension based questions, what is this editorial about? I have written in a nutshell at the outset. What is highly questionable as a national priority at any time? What are less about the need and more about an imperious obsession with grandeur? Keywords: less about, more about, imperious obsession with grandeur. What is characteristic of the showmanship that has befallen governance in India? So keywords easy to locate. What can be an extremely challenging task even during ordinary times? Extremely challenging task even during ordinary times. All the five questions are easy to answer. Now it is your turn to respond. First, as I said, today I have brought about four or five exercises, very useful. Two of them are from international magazines. First one, based on error location. Based on information given by them, police unearthed the explosives from the mango grove later. Based on information given by them, police unearthed the explosives from the mango grove later. A bit difficult. There is an error over here. Groove means it has got two or three meanings. One meaning a sort of dent. If you take a flat surface, there is a dent, then we use the word groove. One meaning. Another meaning, to dance to a particular music, like jazz or some other music, groove to the music. And in this context, it doesn't go with this context. What is the right word here? Grove. Grove. Grove means group of trees. A collection of trees, a group of trees. Mango grove. So the right word is not grove, it is grove. Second sentence, a majority of the evacuees moved to the homes of relatives. In Ernakulam district, nearly 250 people from over 60 families were shifted to four relief camps at Chellanam, a place in Kerala. Now where is the error? A majority of the evacuees moved to the homes of relatives. Now evacuation, whenever there is a natural disaster like earthquake or floods or tsunami or storm, big major storm, people are evacuated, means shifted from that place to some other place, a rehabilitation center. Now the people who are shifted or who are evacuated, there is a word for those people. They are called evacuees. So there is a problem over here. What is the correct spelling of that particular word? Evacuees, not single E, it should be double E. Evacuees means what? Those who have been evacuated. Hundreds of techies who returned to their native places following the pandemic are working from home amidst repeated call drops, dip in upload speed, and patchy network. They have their own problems. Now, this is an easy one. A question like this, once you spot the first part, you should stop. You don't have to go beyond. Save your time. Here we don't say hundred of techies. We say hundreds of techies. Thousands of people, hundreds of birds, hundreds of techies. Here we should use a noun in the plural form. It's a standard expression. Hundreds of people, hundreds of children, hundreds of professionals, hundreds of techies. The corpse of the 18 elephants reportedly killed in lightning strikes in Nagaon district of central Assam on May 13 were found in two groups, 1 kilometer apart, an official statement said Saturday. Now where is the error? Many of these questions are based on confusing words, but I have brought from the newspaper, the Hindu paper. Now here corpse, when you talk about NCC, then this is a spelling, but in this context it doesn't go with that. Here the sentence talks about dead bodies of elephants. What is the right word for that? corpse, corpse, the corpses. corpse singular, corpses, corpses of the 18 elephants, the dead bodies of the 18 elephants. Today I have brought 6 sentences related to spot the errors, error location. Sentence number 5. The action against Air India could put a roadblock on its disinvestment process as the government was hoping to conclude the debt-ridden carrier sale by September this year. The action against, whenever you come across a lengthy sentence, first identify the subject, then the phrases, clauses, verb, object, all these. The action against what or whom? Air India could put a roadblock on its disinvestment process. As the government was hoping to conclude the debt-ridden carrier sale by September this year. There is nothing wrong with this sentence, so no error whatsoever. The last sentence. The number of bodies coming to the guard has dropped. The number has dropped, no problem. The number of bodies coming to the guard has dropped over the past week, and none of the bodies were buried since the controversy broke out. Since the controversy broke out. After since, we can use a time phrase in the past, or a phrase in the past, or a clause in the past. The controversy broke out. Nothing wrong with that. But here, there is one important pronoun. Indefinite pronoun. None. Indefinite pronouns. None, one, someone, something, no one, nobody, somebody. Two indefinite pronouns are very important from the exam point of view. One is none. The other one is one. But here I'll talk about none. None usually takes a plural verb. But if it is followed by phrases like of the bodies, of the employees, of the boys, of the girls, of the students, then it takes a singular verb. Based on that, were is not correct. It should be was. None of the bodies was buried. That is the correct sentence. Now, para jumble. Have a look at the parts, and there are 6 parts, and try to do it carefully. When you read the parts, immediately take the elimination approach. That way what happens, you can get the first sentence. That cannot be the first one. Again, that by, hold that one. That cannot be the first one. Caused increase cannot be the first one. Researchers from Netherlands, this could be. The study, definite article, cannot be the first one. So what is the first one over here? E is the first one. Researchers, you may think that way, but unfortunately it is not. By examining mice in different situations, comma, the first one is B. By examining mice in different situations, researchers from Netherlands have discovered a new brain circuit that increasing activity in a brain region called zona incata, you cannot consider that is related to curiosity and novelty-seeking behavior. Let us go to C. It is a bit difficult because you have 2 parts that begin with the word that. You cannot consider A. You have to consider C. By examining mice in different situations, researchers from Netherlands have discovered a new brain circuit that is related to curiosity and novelty-seeking behavior. Full stop. These are one idea. Then, the study published in Science found that, here F, this that goes with F. The study published in Science found that increasing activity in a brain region called zona incerta caused increase in interaction with novel objects. It caused what? Increase in interaction with novel objects. Full stop. So there are 2 ideas. For each idea, 3 parts. B, E, C, F, A, D. Let us cross-check. By examining mice in different situations, researchers from Netherlands have discovered a new brain circuit that is related to curiosity and novelty-seeking behavior. I have highlighted the key words. Based on that, you should be able to get the correct order, the line of thought. The study, published in Science, found that increasing activity in a brain region called zona incerta caused increase in interaction with novel objects. Easy to make out. So 2 ideas and each idea 3 parts. Word swap. Lashing winds and heavy rain started gusty several parts of Goa and power supply in several areas was disrupted. Four words, two words are not properly placed, you have to change or you have to swap. Lashing winds seems right, and heavy rain started gusty several. It doesn't seem right. Based on that, here you cannot use lashing winds, you have to use gusty winds. This has to go there and this has to go come here. Now, how does the correct sentence go? Gusty winds and heavy rain started lashing several parts, hitting several parts of Goa. Nothing wrong with supply, nothing wrong with disrupted, interrupted. With a grim on every liter of oxygen across the country, the situation has become focused for patients in home isolation needing regular supply. Not that difficult. You should know the meanings of the words, that is very important. Here, with the grim is not correct. With the focus, focus on something. So this has to go there and this has to go to this place. With the focus on every liter of oxygen across the country, the situation has become grim, very sad, without any hope, for patients in home isolation needing regular supply. Sentence number 3. It was a swamped day at vegetable and meat markets in the city as a large number of people filled these places to grab their quota. To grab their quota. Nothing wrong with these two words at the outset. It was a strong day, grammatically nothing wrong, but contextually it is not correct and you cannot use the word field over here. Based on that, you have to swap these two words. How does the correct sentence go? It was a field day at vegetable and meat markets in the city. Why? As a large number of people swarmed these places. So many people went. Then we use the word swarmed. Sentence number 4. He said neither the government had fulfilled to spare the hapless patients charged with lakhs of rupees by the hospitals, nor it has intervened its promise of providing free treatment. It has intervened its promise. Why will it do that? So this word is not correct. Had fulfilled to spare, that is again not correct. Contextually speaking, we have to change these two. How does the correct sentence go? He said neither the government had intervened to spare the hapless patients charged with lakhs of rupees by the hospitals, nor it has fulfilled its promise. Fulfill your duty, fulfill your work, fulfill your promise. Typical combinations of providing free treatment. The last sentence. As the second COVID-19 wave continues to mitigate the country, it is now clear that universal and swift vaccination is the only way out to ravage the effects of the pandemic. Effects of the pandemic you try to reduce. Based on that, you should use the word mitigate, not ravage. And these two words have to be swapped. As the second COVID-19 wave continues to ravage the country, affect the country, it is now clear that universal and swift quick vaccination is the only way out to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, or reduce the effects of the pandemic. Now, close test, not easy, from an international magazine. The global economy is entering unfamiliar territory. After a decade of worries about inadequate demand and spending power of the global financial crisis, in the stimulus, global financial crisis, a negative word. We cannot use a negative context. We cannot use the word stimulus. Nasty of, grammatically not correct. Doled, it takes a preposition out. Aftermath, hold this one. Red hot of, grammatically not correct. In the bottlenecks of the global financial crisis. Again, contextually not correct. So what is the right word? In the aftermath, after the global financial crisis, after the effect or the impact of the global financial crisis. So here we have to use the word for, aftermath. Signs of insufficient supply are now emerging. A lack of goods, services and people means that demand, what sort of demand? Stimulus demand is not correct. Nasty demand, not correct. Doled out, it doesn't go in this context. And red hot demand. Red hot demand, a lot of demand. Answer is the fifth one. Red hot demand is increasingly met slowly or not at all. There are already signs that supply may lead to surprises. Here you have to use increasingly stimulus may lead to surprises. What sort of surprises? Unpleasant surprises. Nasty means unpleasant. There are already signs that supply stimulus may lead to nasty surprises which could upset the post-pandemic recovery. Nowhere a shortage is more acute than in America, where a boom is underway. Consumer spending is growing by over 10% at an annual rate as people put to work the $2 trillion plus of extra savings accumulated in the past year. More, more what? I'm sorry. Here it is not stimulus, it should be bottlenecks. Six is the bottlenecks may lead to nasty surprises. A negative context, a negative word. Bottlenecks means hurdles. Now here more stimulus. Here we have to use the first one. More stimulus is being doled out. Stimulus already used somewhere. And based on that, more stimulus is still being doled out. Doled out means to distribute. What is the last one here? Third one. So here aftermath, then here it is red hot demand, then it is bottlenecks may lead to nasty surprises, 6 and 2, and here stimulus is still being doled out, 1 and 3. See here, aftermath of the global financial crisis, the effect of a particular incident or the after effect of a particular incident, red hot demand. Try to look at the combinations. Context, supply bottlenecks may lead to nasty surprises, a negative context. And the stimulus, more stimulus is still being doled out, distributed. Now, vocabulary related exercise, the last one. Words and meanings you have to match. Demolition, noun, means what? Pull down a building. Usually it goes with a building. Obsession, noun, and it means constant thinking of something or someone. You cannot control your thoughts. Grandeur, again noun, means what? Splendor. Irony, irony, paradoxy. Paradoxical adjective, irony, noun. Answer B. Paradoxical. Contrasting things exist at the same time. Colossus, noun, means what? Immense in size. Ruins, as a noun, it is, you can use in the plural form. Noun, that is the reason why ruins. Only ruin, then it's a verb. Means what? Remains. But that is not the exact meaning that goes with the context. Raising, verb, obviously, it could be. Once I say it is a verb, it could be an adjective, it could be a noun, ing form. Here, raising means what? Again, destroying. It goes with buildings as well as fire, diseases, something that makes a negative impact. Treasures, obviously noun, valuable things. Archival, adjective, archives, noun, archival files here related to archives. Easy to answer. The last one, manuscripts, written by hand. Noun, manuscript, singular, manuscripts, plural, written by hand. That's all from today's editorial, and do remember, today I thought of doing a live session. Because of the power cuts, I could not do that. I'm sure from tomorrow you're going to have live sessions. Even I'm looking for that, have been waiting eagerly for live sessions. So that's it for today. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.